Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Red Wolf Roundtable here on ASU-TV. I'm Tristan Harlan, alongside by my broadcast partner, my best friend, Cooper Milder. Cooper, how are you doing today?
Well, I'm doing good, A-State fans. We're back after Thanksgiving. I hope y'all all had a great Thanksgiving break. And now let's get into a little bit of A-State football here, Tristan.
Yeah, Cooper, last time the A-State football team had a game, they were playing the Texas State Bobcats as their last home game of the 2021 season. You know, it was a disappointing season to say the least. You know, Arkansas State went 2-10, losing to Texas State 24-22 on a last-second field goal that Arkansas State actually missed after Corey Rucker was able to find the end zone late in the fourth quarter. And, you know, just kicking into that win, it was just a horrible mismatch and a nightmare for the kicking unit. I mean, if you was on that field in pregame and you felt that win, you just knew like there was no chance either team was going to be able to kick a field goal on that side of the end zone.
Yeah, and you know, this game we lost by 2. It was kind of a summary of how the whole season went, in my opinion. You know, to fight hard all year just to lose the final game by 2. I just feel like that was a little kind of kick in the butt at the end of the season. Like, we're 2-10. It's pretty bad. It's just one of those games you hate to see, and you hate to go out like that.
Right. I mean, you said it yourself, disappointing to say the least. I know every Red Wolf fan probably did not expect a 2-10 season for Butch Jones in his first year here, you know, especially coming from Tennessee and an Alabama school, being under the greatest coach of all time, Nick Saban. But, you know, you just got to look at these stats. Lane Hatcher went 25 for 37, threw 277 yards, 2 touchdowns, averaged 7.5 yards on each throw that he had. And, you know, Lane Hatcher, he came into a tough situation. He originally was a transfer from Alabama. He came in, didn't really get a lot of playing time this year because of James Blackman and Coach Jones wanting to work both guys in. But he came in after Blackman got hurt, and really he kind of led this team a lot back. I mean, sure, you did lose 2-10, but look at what you was able to accomplish just for the whole year that Lane Hatcher was able to play. He almost brought us back again. Well, he did bring us back against UCA. He put up a great fight against Memphis early in the year. And, you know, I'm just saying that Lane Hatcher had probably the best year that a quarterback could have for A-State football.
I mean, he did, but at the same time, you know, we didn't really get the rushing game involved, which, I mean, it hurt him, and you could see that. You know, there was times throughout the game you wish you could set up a team with a play action, but if they're stopping your run, he really couldn't get his rhythm going. As we've seen years past, like his first year here, he had 27 total touchdowns. That's insane, especially for a Sun Belt quarterback. But we just didn't have the rushing attack like we saw all year, and it was just one of those you hate to see it.
All right, Cooper, and you know, speaking of Lane Hatcher, breaking news here out of Jonesboro, ladies and gentlemen, Lane Hatcher has decided to announce that he will transfer from Arkansas State University. You see on your screen now, he said, you know, thank you to Arkansas State. He loves his time here. But Cooper, I just kind of want to bring up something that we've been talking about kind of here recently, that when we found out the news broke. Butch Jones started coaching at Alabama in 2018. Funny story is that Lane Hatcher was also at Alabama in 2018 and left and came here. And now Butch Jones becomes the new head coach of Arkansas State. And where's Lane Hatcher? He's packing his bags and he's heading for the first flight out of Jonesboro. So, Cooper, what are your thoughts of Lane Hatcher transferring? And how funny is it that now that Butch Jones is here in Jonesboro, Lane Hatcher's leaving?
Well, at first when I first saw it, I was shocked and surprised, but now, you know, if he really doesn't like Butch Jones that much, I mean, he's going to have to be playing against like UCA, play for UCA, and, you know, go there and maybe play A-State. But no, all jokes aside, but I don't know really how I feel because, I mean, James Blackman, he wasn't really a star stud like everyone thought he would be. So we're just going to have to wait and see what quarterback really steps up, or if Butch Jones is going to bring in another transfer with all those other 41s. But I don't know if he should stick to the transfer portal after we saw how this year went.
Right. I mean, you said it yourself, Blackman. Everybody thought he was QB1 preseason going against UCA. Everybody thought, you know, this is our guy. This is the guy that's going to be QB1. And to say the least, he was disappointing. Sure, he got hurt, but he would just rush his throws. He would make terrible game time decisions. And then when the line would give in from the defensive pressure, he wouldn't find the open man or evade the pressure. He would just fall down and get sacked. I mean, it was just kind of horrible for the sense of, you know, this team was very hungry at the start of the year. Everybody thought here in Jonesboro that Butch Jones, like I said earlier, coming from 2 SEC schools, that he was going to, kind of continue what Blake Anderson was doing here, winning bowl games, possibly winning even more Sun Belt championships, going to bigger bowls. But, you look at that record and you look at kind of the struggles we've had all year, and it was, okay, we're 2-10. Are we really going to go back to the way it used to be?
I mean, right now, Butch Jones is looking a little bit of Chad Morris going 2-10 his first year there. And, the problem all year was defense. You saw we let opponents average 40 points per game on us. You can't have that. And then rushing was horrible. We let up 133 rushing first downs. We gave up almost 4,000 yards in rushing total all year. And we gave up 6 point yards per carry. You're getting a first down every 2 plays like that. You can't have that. The defense was awful. We were ranked last in the FBS on defense. And you can't see that happen. I mean, UMass had better defense than us, and UMass is horrible.
Right. Well, I mean, I think we're just going to have to go ahead and wrap it up on that one before we get too carried away and say some of the wrong things. So, guys, stick around. We'll be right back, and we hope you're enjoying Red Wolf Roundtable here on ASU-TV.
We're all just trying to keep things running for those who rely on us. That's why we don't have time to be sick with the flu.
We don't have time for delays.
We don't have time for spills.
Next.
We don't have time for setbacks. Let's be real.
Getting the flu shot
Helps you fight the flu.
Get a flu shot for yourself and those around you, too.
What's cooking, good looking, A-State fans? We're back here for Red Wolf Roundtable, and now we're going back to dive into more of A-State football here, Tristan. So why don't you start us off here with the standings?
Well, Cooper, you said when we opened, what's cooking good looking, but you want to know something that's not good looking? The fact that Arkansas State in the Sun Belt Conference rankings is sitting at 1-7 to end the year. That is completely horrible. I mean, I get new coach, new players. You get I think it was 40 transfers when Butch Jones got hired and came in. But this is horrible. You cannot have this as an A-State fan. I mean, just looking at the stats, going by the numbers, so I don't get called out for saying the wrong thing here. But 1-7 in the whole entire conference, the Sun Belt Conference, which some may say is the worst conference in college football. So you looking at it here, Arkansas State's dead last in the conference, in the Western Division. Above them is South Alabama, Louisiana Monroe, Texas State, and the Raging Cajuns of UL, who is playing in the conference championship against Appalachian State. Cooper, how are you feeling about just looking at these standings for the Sun Belt?
Well, it's not good looking right now, obviously, but Arkansas State is in last. People want to blame, that's Blake Anderson's fault. He left us here, blah, blah, blah. No. Butch Jones brought in, he's pretty much going to weed out the guys he doesn't want. So, as you saw, he brought in 40-plus transfers, if not even more, and it really showed how it went when you had a bunch of guys that worked with each other to guys he's trying to weave in the offense/defense, and it's not working out. It's not working out for the offensive coordinator, or obviously it isn't working on defense, as we could see that. But it was just, we had 17 interceptions this year total with James Blackman and Hatcher combined. Hatcher had a little bit more just because he did end up playing throughout more of the season. And, we attempted 487 passings, and we only got 285 completed. And, you know, even then, teams were still completing more against us than we were, and we were a pass-first offense because we couldn't get the rushing game going. You can't have that.
Right, Cooper. I mean, you said it yourself. We're a pass-first offense. Couldn't run the ball. Couldn't stop the run. I mean, you saw what Memphis did to us. You saw what the Memphis run team did to us. I mean, there's no shot to defeat the fact that, to say the least, Arkansas State's defense this year sucked. I mean, that's the only way to put it. There's no sugarcoating. There's no saying, oh, well, we had a bad year, guys. Maybe next year we'll come up and we'll have the better year. No, we suck, and it's horrible. You cannot have a defense that is this bad and expect to win more 2 games and not go 2-10 or 1-11 every year. It is absolutely horrible. You're coming from Alabama, Butch Jones. The guy called Nick Saban, who arguably, like I've said, is the greatest coach of all time, has the best defense every single year, the best offense every single year, and you can't have that. That makes Nick Saban look like a clown since he hired you as his assistant.
Well, it's a reason why he was an assistant there and not the head coach, obviously. But, you know, defense, we would set ourselves up so perfectly. I'm sure A-State fans are about to know what I'm talking about. Let's just talk about a 99-yard touchdown. That happened multiple times this year. Pin them down on the 1. Let's get it. Oh, what do? A little pass to the tight end. A tight end takes it 99 yards to the house. Go to next week. Hand off up the gut on Thursday night prime time. 99 yards. I mean, you're not going to win games if your defense can't hold it. And then total offensive yards for other teams, they average 7.3. They're getting a first down almost every play.
Right.
There's a reason we're 2-10, and it's pretty obvious. I mean, offense, we're talking bad about them and everything, but offense, they did what they could. If your defense isn't going to give you help, you're not going to win games. Like people say, you always hear, defense wins championships. Well, with this defense, don't even think about a championship or even a bowl game anytime soon.
Right. I mean, you said it yourself. Offense, they had their struggles. They made up for it. I mean, honestly, I think Corey Rucker carried the whole offense the whole year. I mean, sure, he had his down games. I mean, you're going to have your down games when you're carrying 10 or 11 other guys every weekend that you're playing against all these different teams like UCA, Memphis, all these Sun Belt Conference teams. You just can't have one guy in football. Football is a team sport. You cannot rely on one guy, 2 guys, 3 guys. You got to rely on every man on that roster, every man on that sideline. And heck, I even want to bring up the fact that we really haven't had a lot of attendance this year for football. The student section was kind of horrible. The fan base, a lot of people did not show up. I mean, you hear all the time.
But do you blame them? I mean,
yeah, that's what I was going to say. You can't really blame them because when you're going 2-10, I wouldn't want to show up to that football team neither. But, you know, especially with something like as football is, we came off a year where nobody was allowed to go to games. And now you're saying, oh, everybody can come back. But you're going to go 2-10? 2-10? Are you kidding me?
I mean, it was one of those, first game, there was a good crowd. I mean, I'd expect a little bit more. But you would expect maybe more fans would show up after the COVID year where it was limited seating. I mean, heck, we might as well just said we were still limited seating to make us look even better.
Right. I mean, I don't know, Cooper. There's just so much that you can and cannot say about this defense that either has or hasn't been said, that is just reruns of what other people have said. But all I'm going to say is this. If Butch Jones wants to win in Jonesboro, if the A-State fan base wants to see another Sun Belt Conference championship here in Jonesboro for football, something has to change, and it needs to be changed as of yesterday. Because honestly, and I'm just speaking as, you know, an A-State fan here, I don't want to watch A-State football if my team's going to get blown out by 50 points every weekend, or if I'm just going to lose by a heartbreaker like I did against Memphis, where I almost came back and then you just lost by 5 points to a team that doesn't even think we're rivals anymore because they just look at it as another non-conference game. You see everybody here in Jonesboro, and it's like, oh yeah, Memphis, the Paint Bucket Bowl rivalry. Like, that's a big game for us. You ask a Memphis guy, who's Arkansas State? You mean another non-conference FCS opponent? That's what it looks like right now. And unless, I'm not saying fire anybody, hire anybody, but unless something changes, then honestly, you better get used to seeing 1-7 in conference and 2-10 on the year, because it ain't going to change.
Well, let's just get the stats right here. On third down conversions, we were 33%. Our opponents, they were 42%. Now, here's what killed us. Fourth down conversions, we're 3 for 15. That's 20%. Teams going for fourth down against us were 10 for 12. That's 83%. So you're telling me we finally get force a fourth down. 80% of the time, if they're going for it, they got it. So it's like it didn't matter we got them to fourth down, because if they went for it, they got it most of the time. And we lost 12 we had 12 fumbles, lost 5. That's a little bit better, but we gave up 23 sacks all year for 118 yards lost. And red zone attempts, we did good in the red zone. I'll give us that. We actually did good in the red zone. We had 35 red zone attempts, and we converted 30 of them, getting some type of point. So we're at least consistent in the red zone, but defense we're not consistent on.
Right, Cooper. I mean, you're looking at the stats yourself. I mean, there's no denying what production level this A-State team had this year. There's no denying how bad it was or how good it was. All I'm saying is that right now, the only hope we really have is if we grab an Xbox 360 controller, boot up NCAA 14, and just go to Dynasty, make our own coach, and just lead Arkansas State to national championship.
I'll do that first year.
I mean, it's not that hard. But regardless of that, I just kind of want to look at the rest of the Sun Belt Conference. I mean, you got Conference Championship Saturday coming up, and look who's playing. You got the Raging Cajuns of University of Louisiana at Lafayette, against Appalachian State. That's going to be a good game. Appalachian State played Coastal Carolina, the team that everybody said was going to run the Sun Belt, and they got beat. Appalachian State beat Coastal Carolina. You look at the eastern side of the Sun Belt, you got App State, Georgia State, Coastal Carolina, Troy, and Georgia Southern. Georgia Southern had a bad year like Arkansas State did, but I'm excited to see what this Appalachian State and Raging Cajun game is going to be like, because the Raging Cajuns have a good run game, and App State, they have a really good defense.
Well, I saw A-State play App State and the Cajuns, and when we played the Cajuns, we almost won that game. So if that team shows up, Appalachian State's going to look like it's 2007 and they just upset Michigan. They're going to come out there and kill them. But if it's a Raging Cajun team, I know that teams have played all year, and the App State that beat Coastal Carolina, this would be a fun game to watch. It's, quote, on the Fun Belt.
Right. I mean, it's exciting to see. I mean, if you look at other conference championship games this weekend coming up, this weekend, next weekend. You got Baylor and Oklahoma State. That's going to be a good game. Oklahoma State looking to clinch a playoff spot, because you look down at the SEC.
Someone has to lose.
Yeah. I think how did they say it? They called it corporate football is what they call the SEC nowadays, and it's Georgia taking on Alabama, number 1 versus number 3. Somebody loses, somebody's going home empty-handed, no playoff, no SEC championship, no nothing. Mm-hmm. And honestly, right now, I think Georgia is going to mop the floor of Alabama, because Alabama has not looked good all year. They struggled to beat LSU. They struggled to beat a lot of teams. As you see on the screen now, the playoff rankings, you got Georgia taking on Cincinnati, Michigan taking on Alabama, Oklahoma State, Notre Dame. They're looking to clinch. They're looking to sneak in. If Cincinnati can win their conference championship game against Houston, if you win your conference, you're in. Cincinnati right now, you win and you're in. You lose, the committee will look for any little speck of dust to make sure Cincinnati is not in the playoff, not for just money's sake, but for the fact of if Cincinnati somehow switches to the 3rd spot when Bama loses to Georgia and beats Michigan, then that makes Cincinnati and the rest of the American Athletic Conference look really good, especially since Cincinnati's switching to the Big 12 in a couple years.
Cincinnati is on the rise, but you're seeing Notre Dame at the 6. You're looking, how can they get in? But what the college football playoff said is coaching changes will affect that. We'll get to more about coaching changes later, but Notre Dame, they're screwed.
Oh, yeah. No. Notre Dame is –
everything can happen perfectly, and they won't get in just because of something that happened.
Well, you also got to look at it this way. What are they doing this weekend? Who is Notre Dame playing this weekend?
They're watching football just like we are.
Exactly, because I don't know what it is with Notre Dame. I don't know if they're scared. I don't know if they just don't have the money, but they need to get a conference.
They're in the ACC in basketball.
Yeah,
why not just join it for football?
They're in every other conference, but sec football, they want to be independent because they want to be that guy. So I mean, I don't know. If Notre Dame was in a conference championship, regardless of Brian Kelly leaving, then it may have helped them. But since they're in the independent and they're just sitting on their couch making their own schedule for the next 5 years, I don't know. Like you said, Notre Dame's screwed, and there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. They're screwed.
It was one of those things, we saw last year. They joined the ACC. They beat Trevor Lawrence-less Clemson. They went undefeated, made the conference championship game, and they lost. They lost, but they still made it just because of that conference championship game.
Right.
If you have that, you're set for perfect if you're a good team. But without it, you're going to be messed up.
I don't know, Cooper. Especially with Michigan playing Iowa, Iowa's no stranger to upsets. They've been able to upset a lot of teams. That's pretty much the real big team. You look at USC in California playing for the Pac-12, but USC, that's a storybook school right now. Not really a storybook, storyline school more or less, but USC, I don't know, Coop. They're playing Cal. That's a state rival right there. But USC, like I'm sure everybody knows by now, Lincoln Riley, the new head coach over there, they're going to be under the microscope for a lot of years just because of what's happened, which we'll talk about later. But I don't know, Coop, what about you just looking at all these conference championship games? Is there any other game that you think is going to make or break a lot of these teams' hearts and dreams for a big year?
There are really big ones that we can talk about, just Big 12, the SEC, and then maybe the Big 10.
Right.
But besides that, that's really, we had Oregon and Utah, but Oregon, last time they played Utah, they got slaughtered. So if it's a repeat of that, Pac-12's not making the playoffs, so that's plain and simple. Pac-12 is looking downhill, and it's going quick.
Right. Oregon, they had their chance. They sold the bag, so to speak, and neither them or Utah's going to make it. But Cooper, all I got to say is stick around, guys. We're going to be right back for talking about coaching change and some transfer portal. So stick around, guys. We'll be right back.
Every day,
millions of people are connecting.
And even though we're overcoming obstacles,
watching each other's backs,
and banding together,
we should still make an effort.
to get to know each other.
On a deeper level.
Father.
Cosplayer.
Mentor.
Actor.
It's time we take a step forward.
Come together.
And discover
how accepting our differences
can make us stronger.
Did you know dragging chains can spark a wildfire?
Only you can prevent wildfires.
And welcome back to Red Wolf Roundtable. Here we now go to a special skit, Coaching Changes. While the past 72 hours has either been great, or if you're Notre Dame or Oklahoma, I have my thoughts and prayers with you at this moment. But Tristan, how have you been thinking about all this coaching changes going on right now?
Cooper, coaching changes are something that happens all the time in college football, even in the NFL, even in the NBA. Every sporting league that you have, there's coaching changes all around, whether it's LSU, Arkansas, Memphis, Notre Dame, Oklahoma, like you mentioned. But, really, Cooper, all I can really say is I wonder what it's like to be a coach in that situation.
Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I am happy to bring you here to our first conference with our brand new head coach. So let's bring him in now. Tristan Harlan, everyone give him a big hand.
Thank you, Coach. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the first press conference here for me as the new Notre Dame head coach. I'm excited to be here with Touchdown Jesus. And
it's the USC job, right?
Oh, right, my bad. Sorry about that, guys. Anyways, I'm excited to be here, calling Baton Rouge, just like Garth Brooks always intended. Ready to cheer on the Fighting Tigers here at LSU. I'm ready to bring more national championships.
It's USC.
Oh, right. Anyways, so Boomer Sooner, guys, it's an exciting job to be here. I'm excited to fill in the shoes that Lincoln Riley left. And Boomer Sooner, guys, I'm excited to say horns down as we carry on to the SEC. And Oklahoma, you have a great coach here. I'm excited to win.
It's USC.
Right. Anyways, regardless of that, it's a good day to be a raging Cajun here. I'm excited to win football games and bring academics. And furthermore, my last comment for this is, Roll Tide! Whoa, that was crazy. I don't know if you saw the same thing I saw, Cooper, but that was spooky.
Anyways, you may be wondering why we're talking about football and we're wearing NBA jerseys, as you see. But there's something that we have in common. Kevin Durant and Lincoln Riley, those are two names that you think of college football, you think of Lincoln Riley right now. When you talk about NBA, think of Kevin Durant. How do they have anything in common?
Well, I know. They're both snakes.
Exactly. Oklahoma, I'm so sorry. Lincoln Riley did you wrong. And, it's kind of funny. Kevin Durant was at Oklahoma, screwed them over. Lincoln Riley was at Oklahoma and then screwed them over, and they both went to the West Coast.
Yeah, I mean, Cooper, you're seeing it on your screen now. Let's tweet about it. Oklahoma's defensive lineman, Isaiah Thomas, shared his thoughts and said, that Lincoln Riley told them the same thing that he told USC in his opening press conference, that they were going to be the new mecca of college football. Cooper, you used to be a high school football player. How would you feel if you were put in that same spot? Let's say your head coach left and a new guy came in. Let's say, since we're both from Cabot, the Bryant head coach came in and was like, I'm going to make this high school team the best team in the state of Arkansas. But meanwhile, you come to find out he told the same guys that last week when Bryant.
Well, I'd be happy now, say like Cabot's coach left or something like that, and he kind of did us dirty. I mean, as a player, if I was from Oklahoma, I'd be hurt. I would feel disrespected, and I would be very upset because here's a coach that possibly recruited you from high school all the way up, and you're like, I want to go to Oklahoma because I like that coach. He's a good guy, blah, blah, blah. And then 2 years later down the road, he just goes, well, money talks, and I'm going to USC. And he's getting a ton of money. Now, USC's a private school, and they don't have to leak out how much their coach is getting paid, but it got leaked out, and let's just say he's not going to have to worry about money anytime soon.
Right. I mean, USC, obviously, one of those teams that were really good back in the 2000 with Reggie Bush and Matt Leinart and Mark Sanchez and guys like that. But you just look, and is it safe to say that Lincoln Riley was dumping for some, for USC so that he didn't have to join the SEC after he saw what LSU did to him a couple years ago in the playoff?
I mean, he saw Texas get run over by an OK Arkansas team. And then he realized, I can barely compete in my easy conference right now. What am I going to even do in the SEC? I think he's just being a little scaredy cat. But speaking of the SEC, LSU, Brian Kelly, Notre Dame fans and the players found out their coach was leaving through social media. Now that's not a good look.
Right, Cooper. I mean, obviously LSU is one of those traditional schools that how they're going to play every single year. A lot of people call them DBU. A lot of people call them, the second best SEC team behind Alabama in terms of success. But Cooper, let me just throw some knowledge on you for a little bit, brother. This guy coming in Baton Rouge, calling Baton Rouge from Garth Brooks, whatever you want to say, this man is the most winningest coach among the past 3 coaches LSU has had. That includes names like Nick Saban, Les Miles, and recently departed Ed Orgeron. That means that Brian Kelly, while yes, he has not won a national championship here recently, but he has won a lot of games. So that just goes to show that maybe the LSU program is back on the coming up like it used to be.
I'll give my thoughts on that real quick. And, I just don't know how Brian Kelly's going to be able to transition from Notre Dame to LSU, because LSU fans, when they hire a coach, they expect to be winning, as they should. They expect to be getting still a couple 5 stars here and there, and they expect to be winning and not losing 5 to 6 games every year. They expect to losing 2 to none.
Right.
And if Brian Kelly can do that, which possibly he could with the talent LSU can get, then I think he'll do great there. Now, switching over from a Notre Dame side, those players have to be hurt. They found out, they wake up one morning, man, I hope we can sneak into the college football playoffs, to, wait, our coach is leaving mid-season, not even waiting till the end of our season? That just hurt him. And then he called a 7 a.m. little morning meeting. If I'm a player, I don't want to show up to a 7 a.m. meeting for him to say, oh, I'm so sorry. No, I would be mad. I would be like, you know what? I'm going to go to sleep. Right. I'm sleeping through that. I don't care. He doesn't care about us either.
Right, Cooper. I mean, I'm not sure if you saw it or not, but the goodbye message got leaked.
Mm-hmm.
It had terrible quality. It looked like it was shot on an Android phone, but all he said, it was just 4 minutes of him saying, well, I'm sorry you guys had to find out this way. It's going to be okay. You're a great football team, guys. I believe in you. I really do. You're so good. You did such a great job. I recruited you so well just to go to Baton Rouge and do the same daggum thing.
I mean, it's kind of like one of those where you go to a 3-year-old soccer game and they don't keep score, but all the parents are keeping score in their head, and they're like, yeah, you won today. You won. Good job. Go get your orange slices. Go grab the Capri Suns. That's how I kind of really saw it.
Right. I mean, that just shows that, I mean, I hate to say it, but Brian Kelly just spat in the face of every Notre Dame player, the administration, the coaches, and every Notre Dame fan and student that goes up to South Bend.
And speaking of changes, there have been really some transfer portal. Speaking of Oklahoma, Caleb Williams may be gone and Spencer Rattler may be gone. So Oklahoma is in a dumpster fire. So Tristan, I don't know about you, but this will get interesting.
Yeah, Cooper, I mean, it'll do interesting. And, I think we're going to go ahead and end it here while we're ahead before we get too carried away. We want to thank everybody for watching Red Wolf Roundtable, here on ASU-TV. We hope you have a great rest of your week, and we will see you guys next time.